everyone. How is everyone doing today? I thought it was a good time to do a little Facebook Live because I have a bit of time right now and I haven't jumped on here in a little while. So welcome if you are brand new. I am Brianna and I help teen girls get out of their suffering of anxiety, depression, self-loathing, so they can move into their confidence and their power. And I just want to, before I even get into what I want to talk about today, I just saw something really exciting that this group has just officially reached over 5K. So we have over 5,000 parents in this group, which is incredible. So welcome for all of you parents, moms, dads. If you're new, I'm happy that you're here. If you've been here for a while, then thank you for being here. I wanted to talk about something today, which is, such an important part of mental health, which is, how can your daughter let go of the anxiety and the depression that she's dealing with, right? And I was actually just talking about this with a new client that just joined my group coaching program. And she's been dealing with a lot of self-esteem issues from things that have happened in her life, right? Kids say mean things to her. There's been some, friendship falling out drama, that's happened in her past. And just, and it's been hard for her to deal with all of that. And so when we were talking about this today, I asked her, how many times do you revisit that? Like, how many times does your mind take you back to the story of what happened? And she said, pretty often. And so here's the problem with that. Because when your daughter is going back to an event that's happened in her past, right, that maybe made her feel sad, alone, afraid, maybe she's feeling guilt or shame or blame or any of those things, right? Every time her mind takes her to that event or that circumstance or that trauma, whatever happened, she's right back there in her past, reliving it again, because those same emotions that she felt when she was there are resurfacing, and then she's right back to where she doesn't want to be. So, the shame, the guilt, the blame, the sadness, the grief, the whatever, it's bubbling up to the surface. And why is this important when we're talking about mental health and anxiety and depression and all of the things, right? Because if your daughter does this, let's say she does this every single day, then she is repeating and playing out all of these feelings and emotions that she doesn't want anymore. But her mind is taking her to this place and she hasn't learned how to redirect her mind, right? So the mind is going to take her to the suffering. The mind is going to take her to the place that she doesn't want to be, right? And so this is an opportunity for her to redirect the mind, because the mind's not in control. She's in control, but she's got to learn how to, it's almost how does she redirect the ship, right? How does she take control of her life? Well, first, she's got to learn how to take control of her mind. Because if your daughter is living in anxiety and depression, then she's not in control of her mind. Her mind is controlling her. Okay, so that's first. We got to get clear on that. What's going on there? Okay, so then how does she shift it? How does she change it? So what I was talking to this girl today, my new client, I was explaining to her, okay, so when your mind takes you there, right, to the traumatic experience or the, that thing that happened that made you feel so bad about yourself, you're going to have to do something to stop that. And then what we're going to do is focus on where you're going, right? Now, this is something that girls, this is going to have to be a new practice, a new skill, like anything else, because the mind's tendency is it's not going to actually want to do this. So what I was telling her is she's got to start focusing on, where is she going? What does she want for herself? What does she want for her life? Okay, now most girls that are living with anxiety and depression, don't do this. They don't play here, right? Because if they're living in anxiety and depression, then that's what they are like kind of brewing in. So they're feeling all of the sadness, the fear, the insecurity, the doubts, the worry, the overwhelm. That's their emotional home. That's where they are living. But if your daughter's emotional home is not in happiness, it's not in confidence, it's not in joy and abundance and everything that she could possibly want and have for herself, then she's not actually going to get those things that she deserves and that she wants. And she's going to stay in the anxiety and the depression and all of those other things, right? So she's got to change her emotional home to where she wants to be and how she wants to feel. Now, this is very tricky if your daughter has been living in anxiety and depression for, let's say, a long time, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. That means that her emotional home, she has conditioned her mind and her body to live in a state of depression. She has conditioned her mind and her body to live in a state of anxiety, worry, overwhelm. And so if her mind and her body has been conditioned to a state of these emotions and these feelings that are actually creating more of the suffering that she doesn't want to feel anymore, then she's going to have to get herself out of that. And the best way that she can do it, well, there's so many different things I could talk about right now, but the topic of this Facebook Live is for your daughter to focus on what she wants, who she wants to be, how she wants to feel. This is so important for your daughter to create the life that she wants to live. She's got to get out of that pain and out of that suffering. And it's almost like letting go of a blankie. It's like, sweetie, you just got to let it go. Stop holding on to it, right? Or like when you're, when you had, it was the time when, your daughter was a baby and it was like, okay, we got to like, that bottle, you're getting a little old for that. Or that pacifier, you just kind of have to let that go. Well, this is kind of the same thing in sort of a strange way, where it's like your daughter has to let go of this emotional home that she's created for herself that has contributed to her suffering. And she's not going to want to do this. So that's the thing. She's not actually going to want to do this, because I'll tell you why. Because her emotional home has become comfortable. It's become familiar. It's become what she knows, because every day when she wakes up, if her emotional home is like depression, then it's like, oh, I've got this. I know how to do this because I've been living here for years in this depression, in this anxiety. So I got this. I got this down. I get an A+ in depression. I get an A+ in anxiety and overwhelm and stress and worrying. I know how to do this. A+ for me. Right? I'm not saying that's how your daughter thinks, but almost in like on a subconscious level, that's where she lives. Because she's got it down so well, but she doesn't have down the happiness. She doesn't have down the confidence. She doesn't have like the joy and abundance and excitement, right? And so that's where she needs to go if she wants to create a new reality for herself. But the new reality is going to take some discomfort. It's going to feel different. It's going to feel like, oh my God, am I doing this? Ah! She's like, but I've been living in depression for years. How do I get over this hurdle and get into my joy and happiness? Is it possible? So here's the other thing. All of this doubt I don't want to even say can come in. It will come in. The doubt, oh my God, can I actually do this? Is this going to work for me? I don't know. And all of your daughter's limiting beliefs about who she thinks she is going to come into play right here. For example, am I worthy? Am I deserving of being happy? Am I enough? right? So all of these core limiting beliefs are going to come into play and also block your daughter from getting over the anxiety and depression and healing herself from that. Right? So these core limiting beliefs of like, I'm not deserving, I'm not enough, right? I don't deserve good things in life. I don't matter, right? So all of I hate myself. All of these limiting beliefs are actually coming into play and blocking your daughter from getting on the other side of anxiety and depression. So this is where it gets tricky, because your daughter isn't only dealing with like the mental health issue, right, of anxiety and depression. And then she's got the other thing that's blocking her, which is her beliefs about who she thinks she is. Double whammy, right? And that's why it baffles me that, a lot of traditional methods of, such as like therapy doesn't really ever go into this, right? And that's why the success rate for therapy is so low, because they actually don't go where where your daughter needs to go to really heal from anxiety and depression. I just had a call this week with a mom, a dad, and a daughter, and the therapist said to the daughter, to the girl, that this therapy is just it's to manage your symptoms. Okay? Let's take a look at that, because that shouldn't be the case. It really shouldn't, because the work that I do with the girls that come to me, we're not managing symptoms here. That's not what we do. The girls are healing themselves. They're curing themselves from anxiety and depression. That's the work that we do, because this is a completely different level than where therapy is going to take them, right? So the managing the symptoms really creates a lifetime of anxiety and depression. And that is not what you want for your daughter, okay? Nobody wants that. Who wants to have a lifetime of anxiety and depression? I don't think anyone wants that, right? Your daughter clearly wouldn't want that either. But the thing is, it's we haven't been taught that there is another way that your daughter can heal. And the other way that your daughter can heal is actually she can step up and be the one that heals her life, which is something that we have not learned, because we have been taught and told from a very young age that the doctors are the ones to do this, or the therapists are the ones to do this. But what I teach the girls that I work with to do is they're the ones that heal themselves. They're the ones that can actually take themselves out of the anxiety and the depression and the self-loathing. And they can give themselves back their freedom, their confidence, their joy, their happiness, because it all resides inside of them. It's not outside, right? We're always, we're kind of taught this from a young age, that we gotta look outside of ourselves to find what we need to fill us up, right? And a lot of people do this in relationships, right? I don't love myself, so I'm going to find someone who loves me so I can feel whole and complete inside, right? I don't feel good enough, so I'm going to seek other things outside of me so I can just try as best I can to make me feel good and whole and complete, even though I feel broken and not deserving and unworthy, right? So this is, I know for a lot of you, this is totally not stuff that we've ever even we don't think about this stuff, right? But it's time we start, because your daughter actually deserves to heal. But the thing is, she has all of the power inside of herself to do this. And it's not found in a pill. It's not found anywhere else but inside. And so one of the reasons that the girls that I work with have such these breakthroughs, I'm talking about, oh my God, can I just tell you that I had a session yesterday with a girl who just wrapped up my coaching program. And oh my God, do I have the notes? She's gonna write me a testimonial and I'll share it. But this 19-year-old girl who came to me, depressed, anxious, had been living in this state for so long, so many years, had done the therapy, had tried the medication, had done like literally everything. And in fact, she was totally skeptical coming into this because she's like, you know what? I don't think this is gonna work for me. You know, like I don't see how this is gonna work for me. I've tried so many things, but there was something inside of her that still was like, okay, like maybe this can work. You know, maybe this is gonna be different. So she came into this with all the skepticism in the world, but she still came in and she was like, let's see what this is all about, right? And we had our final coaching session yesterday. And because the girls, you know, the girls in my group, they get, you know, the group coaching, but they also get a couple of private coaching sessions with me as well. And so we had our wrap-up session yesterday. And I asked for her to describe herself and how she sees herself right now. And I was like blown away. She was blown away. We're just like looking at each other and we're like staring at each other. We're like, oh my God, did you just hear how you described yourself? Because she's describing herself as like all of the things that she wanted for herself back when we had started this. And the cool thing was like we had done the same practice, like our very first coaching session. So I was able to compare like what she had said about herself a few months ago and then where she was right now. And it was like, are you kidding? It's like night and day. It's like, this is incredible. And for her to know that she had the power to really turn her life around in like a little, like 2.5 months. Like, are you serious? This is not the norm. The norm is for girls to be struggling with anxiety and depression for a very, very, very long time. Some girls will, you know, struggle with it for the rest of their lives because they never will find the thing that they have been looking for that's really going to help them heal from the anxiety and depression. Remember, we're not talking about coping strategies. We're not talking about managing some symptoms, because what we do here is get to the root. And until your daughter can get to her root issues that are blocking her from her happiness, from her freedom, from her joy, she's going to keep coming up to this wall of the anxiety and the depression and the self-loathing and the self-hatred and all of the things. She's not going to be able to like bring down that wall if she's not getting to the root issues. And this is a big problem because in therapy is not usually getting to those root issues. So all you're doing is just band-aiding. Like band-aiding, that's not really a word, but you're putting band-aids on the issues, but it's like a band-aid over like a bleeding wound is not actually going to do much of anything. It's still bleeding. So if you look at like what's been going on for your daughter, if she is struggling with her mental health, and it's like, is the root issue being addressed? Not only is it being addressed, but is it being healed? Is she healing herself from whatever those root issues are? And for everyone, it's different, right? Because we're all different. And so this is what we need to take a look at. But anyways, going back to my conversation that I had with my client yesterday, we're looking at each other and we're like, can you believe this? And she's like, no. I mean, I can believe it because these are the kinds of results that are just typical with the girls that I work with. The girls that show up and do the work, like they have big transformations, like all the time. So I'm not so surprised about it anymore because this is just typical. But the girls that come into this, now they are surprised because this is something that they've never experienced before. And they're like, holy cow, did I just do that? Did I just transform my life? Oh my God, like serious? And the cool thing with this too is that, you know, once your daughter transforms her life, it's like, that's when life becomes magical. That's when life gets really exciting. And she starts looking forward to her future and what she can who she can be and where she's going to go and where she's going to take her life. And a lot of girls that are living in anxiety and depression don't even go to the future, because the future is so dark and so dim and the light has been turned off almost, that they're living in this like dark, deep hole of the depression and the anxiety. Because if they actually go into the future, it's going to be even more depressing because of where they're living. So it's hard for them to even see something different, right? Like a lot of the girls that I speak with on these breakthrough calls that I have with their parents, and then the daughter comes on the call too. And I ask a lot of the girls, like, what do you want for yourself? Like, what do you see? Like, let's say we fix, your mental health, the issues that you're going through. Like, what do you want? And some girls can go there. Some girls can't, because they've been living in the anxiety and depression for so long that they don't even know how to see anything beyond that, right? And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. What are all of those limiting beliefs that are getting in the way, right? If your daughter has a limiting belief that says, I don't deserve good things in life, I don't deserve to be happy, I'm not enough, I am not worthy, I don't love myself, well, then those are all blocks that actually prevent your daughter from living in the bliss and in all of her blessings and miracles. That literally, like, all of this stuff is just, if you think of it this way, it's like all of this magical life is like waiting for your daughter. It's like it's over here, but your daughter can't actually like open up her heart to receive the abundance of love and joy and happiness and all of it if she's living in not only the anxiety and depression, but all of those limiting beliefs of, I am not worthy of it, I am not deserving of it. And that's why, part of this work is, well, I'm an expert in helping girls learn how to love themselves and teach them this, right? This is what I do every single day. And I got really good at this because I had to teach it for myself first. In order to become an expert in this, I had to learn it for myself. And that took over, that I spent years and years studying this for myself, even before I was ready to be a coach. Like, I had to learn this. And it was hard for me because it was like trial and error and trying to find all of the right things that were going to help me to love myself, to heal from my past, right? And to become like the best version of me. Whoa, right? But once I had it, once I dialed it in, I was like, ooh, okay, now I'm ready. And then I was like, game on with when I started, with my coaching. And so the girls are like, if you think of it this way, it's like the girls are coming into this energy. When I work with the girls, right, they're not only coming into this energy that I have, that I exude of like, yes, you can do this. Yes, you're gonna do this. So get excited because your life is about to get really, really magical. So not only are they in that energy of excitement, like, oh my God, okay. I'm not sure how this is gonna work, but I'm gonna do it because I am sick and tired of living where I've been living with the anxiety and depression and the self-loathing. So I'm gonna try this. So they're not only doing that, but the other cool thing too is that your daughter, with the program and how I run this, they're doing it with each other. So this is not a therapy where it's like a one-on-one where they're not connecting with other girls that are also dealing with similar issues. Why is this important? Because so many girls are feeling so lost and so alone in what they're going through. Because they're like, does anyone know what it's like to deal with this? Does anyone know what it's like to feel the way that I do? And there's so much loneliness that's showing up, so much feelings of like, does anybody get me? Does anybody understand me? Can anybody hear me, right? In what I'm going through. And so the cool thing with this is that they're coming into like a collective with other girls that are meeting them where they're at because they're also feeling all of this, right? And there's nothing more powerful than collectively coming together with other girls and doing this powerful sacred work. It is like priceless. It is so powerful. I can't even tell you how powerful it is. And so when they start doing this together, it's like, oh, okay, like this isn't so bad. Okay, I can do this. And then they start hearing the stories from the other girls that are having these breakthroughs and having these transformations. And it's like, oh my God, like they're doing it. Well, if they can do this, can I do this? Right? And it's like that belief in themselves that they can do this is powerful beyond measure. And so this is what can happen for your daughter, right? It takes a new approach. It takes getting out of what we have been taught at, from a very young age, that it's the doctors and the therapists and they know best. And there's a place for doctors. I'm not putting down doctors, but the medication route is not the only way for your daughter to heal from anxiety and depression. In fact, it just masks what is really going on underneath all of that, right? And so sure, you could put your daughter on some medication, but if your daughter is not addressing the trauma, if your daughter is not addressing the painful experiences that she has been through, if your daughter is not addressing all of the feelings and the emotions that she has stuffed down for years inside of her, if she has not addressed that not only addressed it, but if she has not addressed it and healed it, then it's still inside of her and it's still living there. And this is very important because all of these feelings and emotions are living inside of your daughter's body. Because this is the energetics that isn't really discussed and taught in, this is what your daughter won't do in therapy. The feelings get actually, the trauma, the feelings, the pain, that shit gets lodged in your daughter's body. Okay? And so with anxiety and depression, if you think about it this way, it's like there is so much that's trapped inside of her. And so we can't just intellectually have a conversation like what's being done in therapy and just that's the way she's going to heal, because it's not. That's not what's needed for your daughter to heal herself from anxiety and depression. She's actually got to come into her body and feel what she is feeling, and then also release all of that. And that is another level of healing that is often not discussed or talked about or whatever. And your daughter isn't getting that. And so if you look at all of the girls that I've worked with, and the vast majority of them are having these breakthroughs and these transformations because we're going somewhere that typically they're not visiting in the traditional ways or the traditional approaches of helping for your daughter's mental health, right? And so this is where we've got to go. This is it. So anyways, going back to the story that I was talking about with my one client, and we were looking at each other and we were just like, oh my God, I'm looking at her and I'm like, you are a completely different person than where you were just a couple of months ago. And the cool thing with this too is it's just the beginning. And I was telling her this, it's isn't it exciting that this is how you get to show up for the rest of your life? Because it's not to say that she doesn't have to do any more work. The one thing that the girls get from when they work with me is that they've got to work on their mental health for the rest of their lives. This is work. It takes work to feel this good, absolutely. But this is the most important work that they can possibly do on themselves. It's more important than their schooling. It's more important than their friendships. It's more important than anything else. Because if they want to be their, the highest best expression of themselves, they've got to put in the work, right? And this is the thing that a lot of girls come into this and they're like, you know, they're not used to putting work into their mental health. They haven't been taught that in school. Otherwise, school would be teaching them how to love themselves, right? How to take care of themselves, what to do when their mental health goes to, you know, goes to crap. Like they don't learn that in school, right? And so that's another thing that they have to get. And so when the girls come into this, it's like, oh, okay, so like I gotta work on my mental health. I gotta put in some time. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely you do. But the payoff is so worth it. The payoff of putting in the time and putting in the effort is getting everything that you've ever wanted and then some. So the payoff's really good. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? So anyways, I gotta go. I gotta call in a little bit. But anyways, if you have not checked out my webinar called Healing the New Medicine for Anxiety and Depression, make sure to watch that. And from there, if you'd like to schedule a call with me, you can absolutely do that. And we can get on a call and take it from there. So if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, leave questions, comments, anything, leave them below. And I'm just sending you all so much love. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. And I will see all of you very soon. Mwah! Bye for now.